Hi, I'm Mombierella. Welcome to a tale as old as time of a princess with the help of her prince, trying to raise a little prince and princess of their very own, without the help of a fairy godmother or even a magic wand, sharing the magic of everyday life while trying to keep her sanity. Today I've got my sister Misty with us. She loves Disney as much as I do. It was how we were raised. We're princesses. But she has a larger family than I do. Our family of four fits easily into an on site Disney resort, but her family has five, which Disney considers a larger family. So she's going to share with us today some things about staying off site.
The first time we went to Disney, we went to Disneyland, and I was 4 years old. And my sister was born 4 years after that. So I think maybe we kind of rubbed off on her. And then when my husband and I got married, he had never been to Disney World, and I begged him for us to go for our honeymoon. And he thought, oh, okay, we can go to Six Flags, for our honeymoon. I don't know why you want to do that, but he'd never been before. And I don't know, something transpires whenever you walk through those gates. It's something magical that happens because my husband, that was almost 30 years old, walks through those gates thinking that we're going to Six Flags. And the next thing you know, he's wearing Mickey Mouse ears. He's getting upset with me because I'm saying, hey, come on, let's get to this ride. And he's like, I want to watch the parade, And I don't know. We've been going back now. We've been married for 17 years and have three kids. And have three kids now. And so, getting back to your question, something happened whenever we had our third child. As long as we had two, we were fine. But when something happened, whenever you have that third one, it kind of throws the whole balance off of your Disney vacation. One, it gets more expensive because now you have an extra ticket to buy. But it also causes one extra person to be in your hotel room, which, if you've had a third kid and you go through that conundrum of trying to book the hotel, they say that whenever you have five people in the room, now you have to go to a larger room. As long as they're 3 years old or under, they will allow a third child or a fifth person to be in the room with you.
The baby.
Yes,
So
as long as they're in a crib, they will allow that you can drag your pack and play and stay in a regular hotel room. It doesn't cost you anything extra because Disney doesn't charge you for a ticket for a child until they're 3 years old. So you better believe we were knocking out all the Disney trips that we could before he turned three because he was still free to stay in the room and still free to, we didn't have to pay for a ticket. So that is a possibility, and definitely I encourage that because you may think they don't remember it at that young, but we've both taken our children whenever they were younger than three, and they still talk about it. They still remember it. So don't think that just because they're too young to enjoy it that you can't take them because they are thrilled to be there, and it's memories that they make for a lifetime.
So when you stay off site, you've got you've got to pick where you're going to stay. Is that a hard thing to pick the place that you're going to stay when you're off site?
That's a very good question. So the first time that our youngest became three and we had to choose what we were going to do, we found that there are rooms on site that you can stay in that are made for larger families. One was a special cars room, and it kind of looks like Cars Land outside. And you can look it up. If you put in your number of your party, they will put you to those rooms. Now, they are more expensive, but they have kind of like a little kitchenette. It has a table that pulls down. It's a Murphy bed, I believe they call them. And that was one of the beds. The living room area has a couch that pulls out into a bed. And then they have a bedroom in there for the parents. And so that is an option that you can stay in. And then you still get, if the Disney Magic Hours are important to you, you still get those Disney Magic Hours. Or you also get the deal if they have the free meal plan. And you can add the meal plan to that.
That's our big thing. We love the meal plan.
That is an option. And if that's where you save your money at, then that's a great way to go. We decided to start exploring staying off-site the last trip that we went. And we have really, really enjoyed it because they're not just, you can rent a townhouse, you can rent another hotel room, but we started renting vacation homes, which to us was great because every kid got their own room. There are
That's
2 and 3 bathrooms versus 1 in a hotel room. And we also have a daughter that's a teenager. So whenever you have that, you also want to allow the littles to have their own bathroom. The teenager
You
gets
wanna
their own
you wanna have
bathroom.
the separate bathrooms
Yeah.
when they're teen if you
And
can help
mom and
it. That'd
dad
be
get their
nice.
own bathroom.
That's
So
nice.
that's nice. You can have 2 or 3 bathrooms in some of those homes. They even have 4 bathrooms, depending on what home you rent. And so that was what we began to research. And we are currently in the process of planning our next trip. And I actually discovered an app. It's called HomeAway. And you can download the app and view all the different homes in the categories, how many bedrooms you want, how many people you have coming. And if you research, there are certain times of the year, especially if you're homeschoolers, like we are, you get the blessing of going in the off season. And so that's an option to save some money too. And we've done that. We love to do that actually because we don't want the huge, massive lines. And so you get shorter lines, but you also get a more expense happy vacation. More money for souvenirs, more money for food or whatever, and more money you can come back with to save for your next trip. So,
Well, speaking of food, you've mentioned to me that y'all don't do the Disney dining so much because you don't like waiting in line, and there's an issue once you've got even if you do the dining plan, you've got the reservations, but you have to wait for your reservations,
mhm.
and then you've also got issues with finding a table. Is that right?
Correct. Once you hit, if you think about a regular restaurant has a table set for 4 people, but regular restaurants will quickly pull together more than one table.
Yeah.
Disney doesn't do that. For one reason, they have massive crowds that are continually cycling through because of their meal plans, because of people enjoy the restaurants and eating out at the park. And some of them go there for characters. The ambiance is just really cool, like you can't find it anywhere else. So they don't move their tables around. They're set in stone. And so whenever you move beyond 4 people at a table, now there's a limited amount of tables and you have to book way in advance to get those tables. And because they're larger parties, it takes longer for them to serve. And so many times you end up waiting 30 minutes, 45 minutes for your reservation to just roll around. And you've lost 30 and 45 minutes, which if you have toddlers, you know that that's a
Oh, yeah.
nightmare. They don't like waiting.
Especially if they're hungry.
They're like, I'm hungry now. And that's another thing too is toddlers and younger children don't get hungry on cue. They don't understand reservations. They understand I'm hungry now. And so we would end up giving out snacks while we're waiting in line for our reservations. And it got to be a little much, especially if you have our youngest is a little more active. If you have an active child, you may consider taking your own food into the park, which is something that we do quite often to save money with a larger family.
Do they have any regulations on taking food in the park?
That's a very good question. They have never limited us on what we can take into the park except for this. You cannot take in any alcoholic beverages, and if you drink, they serve alcoholic beverages there. But they like to keep tracks because it is a family-friendly park. They don't want people, getting loopy with kids around. It's just not a safe environment, especially with roller coasters. It's just a bad mix. But the other thing is you cannot carry any glass containers in. We did have once a boo-boo. We slipped up and carried a jar of salsa, and it was like a small glass jar of salsa.
We're from the South, you can tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we're from the South. And so they did say, well, you can leave it here, and we'll throw it out for you. And of course, we're like, are we gonna go put it back in the car? I think not. Toss it. We don't care. $2.50. Bye bye. We need the next day. Don't do that again. So far, that's the only limitation that they've had. We've actually even, because whenever we do stay off property, you drive past Chick-fil-A, you drive past McDonald's, and our kids love that food, even though a lot of people are more healthy than that. And we normally try to eat more healthy. If we eat Chick-fil-A, we eat grilled chicken or whatever. But we've had the security guards, kind of joke about, hey, Chick-fil-A, I'm ready to go to lunch break. I'm going with these guys, but they'll let you carry it right on in. So.
Okay. Now, magic bands. For those who stay on site, you get these for free, the plain color. They've even got purple now, which is awesome. When you stay off site, can you get magic bands? Can you use them?
Actually, because we save money, we don't have a problem buying the magic bands. And I think whenever they give you, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the ones that they give you by default are just the plain colored ones,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now there's a lot of people who decorate them now, and that's something
Okay.
we might talk about later.
Um, so you can actually buy the magic bands in the park. So you don't have to miss out on the fun. That was something that we were concerned about the last time because we thought, well, you only get the magic bands if you stay on the property because if you buy the tickets, they'll mail you just the little cards. And you think, oh, what a bummer. But whenever we got there, we found out, well, all the stores carry these magic bands. You can actually buy them. You can buy the plain colored ones. But we had more fun buying the characters because I had one son. He loves Mickey Mouse, and so he got the Mickey Mouse magic band. It had the whole Phantasmic on it and the sorcerer's hat, So you can choose that too. That is an option. You don't have to miss out on that fun just because you stay off property.
Okay. How about some cons of staying off site though? If you stay off site, you can't get the meal plan, right?
Correct.
Can you do fast passes? As far as you know right now, you can't do like the 180 days in advance thing like you can do with the dining. Obviously, you can't do it that far in advance when you're off site.
To my knowledge, you cannot stay off property and schedule the fast pass in advance like they started allowing them to do. To my knowledge, you cannot do that. But you can use the fast pass there in the park. And you can keep in mind that some people cancel their fast passes or change it at the last minute. And if they do, then you can swoop in
Nice.
and get those, which is kind of cool. And a lot of people don't like to call, I mean, unless they're really Disney gurus. They don't want to call and schedule all those things in advance. And another thing to remember too is they can only schedule 3 per day in advance. So whatever the most popular ride is, those are probably going to be the ones that they schedule in advance, which is okay because whenever you get there, you can scan it and it's still in the afternoon. So you can do that as an option too. You just have to do it while you're at the park.
Well, and then as far as like whenever the parades or the fireworks are going, if you don't necessarily want to see those or you've seen those that within that week, you could probably go do the rides or even look into like the dining options at that point because it seems like it'd be less crowded or
Yes. Yes, you can do that. You can ride the
or meet
rides,
the characters too.
schedule
That
your
would be a good
fast
time.
passes. Meet the characters is that's a great one. We've done that before, and especially if you stay multiple days at the same park and you've already seen the parade once, you don't care to see it again. Um, Clock when the parade's going to be, and that's the big time to hit either the most popular rides if you weren't able to get a fast pass for them to go visit your kids' favorite characters or your favorite characters. We as adults have favorite characters too that we are want to take pictures with. That's a good time to do those things because the crowds are going to be a lot thinner.
Transportation. When you're on site, everybody knows you can take the bus, you can take the boat, the monorail. What about transportation whenever you're off site? Is that a lot harder to navigate?
One of the things that a lot of people believe is a con about staying off property is the driving back and forth, and on a lot of the homes they'll post exactly how many miles it is from the house to the Disney property, and that's really nice because then you know exactly what kind of drive you have to expect. A lot of them will be like a 15-minute drive. Some of them are a little bit farther, a 25, 30-minute drive. So watch for what you're looking for. Are you wanting to be close to Universal? Are you wanting to be closer to Disney? What is your goal? And they'll post that in the description. So you can look for that. And you might get a cheaper house, but it may be a little bit farther away. It kind of depends on what you want to do. What do you want to save more money or do you want to drive farther? So that's something that we look at. Usually we try to keep it 15 minutes or less from the park. So that way, if you have younger kids, you can drive back to the house. If you want, have a break in the middle of the day and come back for dinner or come back for the fireworks show or whatever you want to do that evening. And your kids aren't as tired. And a lot of people think, well, if you stay off property, you can't do that. But actually, we found whenever we were staying on property, a lot of times the con was that stinking bus. I remember the last time we stayed on property in the cars room, And we had one that was 2, and of course he's falling asleep, and we have his big old bulky stroller, and the bus doesn't lower down for you. You got to clunk it up on that thing, and you've got this kid that's like a sack of potatoes that you're dragging. And we had another one that was 4, so he was trying to wander off as we're waiting in this line. It seemed like forever, and we clocked it. And by the time we got on the bus, my husband was like, "Unbelievable! It's been an hour and 20 minutes," which my sister was saying, "Well, that's kind of long."
Yeah,
I said, "Well, that's when you
true.
hit the line that's really backed up. Either the parks are closing or something's happening."
Right.
And but you do get stuck in those, you know, and you have to consider that, because if you stay off the property, we clocked it the next visit when we stayed at the house, and it was a 12-minute drive to the house. We were able to ride the tram, walk to our car from the tram stop. We passed Walmart. We thought, oh, we've got to get pull-ups for the youngest. We've got to get, some food for tomorrow, because we were planning on taking our food the next day. And went to Walmart, got our food, got the pull-ups, got in the car, drove the rest of the way to the house, got the kids in bed, which had fallen asleep on the drive there. That was kind of nice, except for our oldest. We got in bed for ourselves, and we're laying there. I'm reading a book, and all of a sudden it occurs to me, hey, it's only been an hour and 15 minutes since we left the park. So it's actually 5 minutes shorter, and we accomplished so much more than just getting on the bus.
Nice.
But I will say that the good part about staying on property is if you don't like driving in traffic. Orlando is crowded traffic wise, and a lot of people get nervous in that, and they would rather not stress over that. So if that's something that, if you're a nervous driver and you don't like traffic, and a lot of international people are there, because Disney World is a big deal around the world, and some people have traveled or waited their entire lifetime or saved for this trip to come there, and they deserve equal opportunity, but maybe they don't know all the driving rules that we have here in the States. So it's a little bit crazier, but that can be something that may make you want to stay on site, or if you are one of those international people that are traveling here, and you don't want to have to mess with things like an international driver's license, or the rental car company wants to charge you for their insurance because your insurance doesn't work here, and it may be a massive amount. So that's something to consider too when staying on property or off property.
One more thing that you can't get when you're off site, right, is the extra magic hours, like the
Correct.
extra hour in the morning or up to 3 hours at night. Was that something you felt like limited your time at the parks too much?
Not with younger children. I think the younger children get tired out easier. And we also, this is another way you can save money too, is we often go with my parents, because it's just fun to go with grandparents, especially since the first time I went and I was 4, I went with my parents. I still enjoy going with my parents. Even now we have, when we go, we'll often have 3 generations there. And it's just building on those memories that we made as kids, and we enjoy going together with our families, cousins going together. And if you do that, you can share a rental house and split, divide the cost, and that even makes it cheaper. And we were helping each other make meals and stuff. We're just like, okay, we've got how many people, do I have to make a meal for? And we could just make a meal for everybody. Those kind of things. There's different ways that you can save money. What was your question? I completely lost
Extra
track
magic
of
hours.
Extra
You feel
magic
like
hours.
you're too limited on.
I was extra magic memory was gone.
Oh, okay. Let's go. How about we go with that? How about we look at the pros then of staying off site though? What kind of freedoms do you feel like you get from that you don't get when you're on site? As far as like being a larger family, especially.
One of the most recent ones that popped up that actually you shared with me was Disney is going to start charging to park at the hotels.
That's true.
And that was always one of the pros before, is if you drove, you didn't get charged the $15 or $20 a day. I forget what it is now.
I think it's 13 if you're at the value resorts, but
Okay.
it's more than, it goes up as you go up on the resort.
Okay,
so
to park at the theme park, and you have to include that in your cost whenever you're considering your budget of what you're going to spend. Is, I believe it's $15 or $20 a day just to park at the park. That's not including the tickets to get in, and that's every day they charge that. So it used to be one of the benefits of staying at their hotel was you didn't get charged for parking. But now you're going to be charged to stay in the hotel parking. So if you ride the airplane there and you ride Disney's shuttle to the hotel, you don't get charged that fee. So that does save you some money. But if you drive there, like we often do with a larger family, it's still cheaper to drive. If you have a larger family, um, you still have to pay the parking, even though it is a little bit less. Like you said, $13 is cheaper than 15 or 20. It's a little less. But even if you include that in your cost of staying off property many times, you will still come out cheaper because you can find. This time we're renting a five bedroom, three bath house. It's 12 miles away, and we are splitting it amongst two families, and so we get it for you know less than half of what Disney is charging, even with including the parking. So it's still quite a bit cheaper. And then when you consider one of the things a lot of people that have never been to Disney, they miscalculate in their budget is food at the parks is expensive, extremely expensive. And that's a huge expense that we save because we have a full kitchen in the house that we stay in. So we can cook pizza and take, pizza with us, or oh goodness, we've taken all kinds of, we get really creative sometimes. But we can take snacks one day and just eat snacks. And I say snacks, we snack. So we'll take beef jerky for a protein, we'll take dehydrated vegetables for a vegetable, and then we'll take fresh fruit. And that way you kind of feel like you're still getting all the food categories, and we'll snack on that. I say snack, and we sit at a table there, just like we're eating at a restaurant there, because they have lots of tables and chairs around the park where you can sit and eat and still enjoy a meal with our family. And then we get up, and sometimes because we save that money, then we can eat dinner in the park if we choose, or we can get dinner on the way home if the park's closing early.
Nice. So you would definitely suggest this for larger families, maybe large groups too?
Definitely, definitely. And I always call a Disney specialist. I don't like doing the online. I'm not a researcher, so I don't like to dig. My husband is. That's kind of his expertise. He loves to research. That's not a thrill for me because I'm the caretaker of our three kids. So it's just kind of crazy. So I like to call them and just ask, and I want to get a direct answer. I don't want to, and they're really good, and they're usually really, really sweet. Every once in a while you get one that's a bummer, but that's not very common with Disney because they're usually make sure that they're kind of like Chick-fil-A employees, it's my pleasure. Have a magical day. And you're all like, oh, they're so sweet. You get off the phone, you feel like you met a new friend.
Right. And sometimes you can talk about your own family with them.
Yeah, yeah, and they talk about theirs, where they're from, and how they ended up there, and it's really kind of fun. But you get a direct answer, and they will tell you. They will be really helpful to you and explain if you have a larger party. Sometimes they'll give you a discount if you do like some of the behind the scenes stuff. If you have a larger party, and you can ask them, they'll tell you. They don't hide anything from you. That's really nice. So it'll help you out. Definitely getting their advice and opinion on some things.
Do you suggest staying off site for smaller families, families that are 4 and under, less than 5?
You can research it and see, but I think you might come out cheaper staying on property if you have a family smaller than four. So I would check it out, especially if the extra magic hours is a big deal to you. You don't want to miss out on that. But do research, and I know definitely for sure from personal experience, 5 family members pushes you over the limit.
Okay.
So don't stress whenever you have that third baby and you're like, Disney's over. It's not over.
Oh, never over.
No.
Okay. And you have your own blog that we're going to share the link in the description down below. It's Happy Go Misty, right? At happygomisty.com. Go ahead and click the link, check it out, follow her, and as always, like and subscribe down there, and comment. Love you guys. Remember, let it go and keep moving forward. Have a magical day. Bye.